Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, Camar Wheaton has officially signed with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama entered signing day with the #1 ranked recruiting class. Their #1 target at running back, the #1 running back in the country, Camar Wheaton, has officially signed here with Andrew Bone to break it all down. Bone, let's talk about Camar Wheaton, talk about a slam dunk on signing day.
It's official. I think Alabama fans are pretty excited. I'm sure the Alabama coaching staff is very excited today as well, as Camar Wheaton made it official this morning and signed with the Crimson Tide. We weren't really sure what he was going to do. Last month when he announced that decision, as he had narrowed it down to Alabama and Oklahoma, and many people assumed that he was going to Oklahoma. I think even Alabama assumed he was going to Oklahoma. Did not sign during the early signing period. Announced on December the 23rd for the Crimson Tide. Of course, there was a lot that happened, between December 23rd and to this point. Alabama lost its offensive coordinator, so Steve Sarkisian, as he became the head coach of Texas. Jeff Banks, the area recruiter, left and also went to Texas. You also had Charles Huff, running backs coach, leave Alabama and become the Marshall head coach. So, there was probably a lot of uncertainty what Camar Wheaton was going to do in the end. And he was one of these guys that just doesn't talk to really anybody. Nobody in the media. I don't think has had an interview with him, probably in months. So there was still a lot of uncertainty as to what he was going to do. We knew that he had talked to Oklahoma a little bit, but Alabama did not let him get away. They continued to press hard for him. Nick Saban, really kind of took over Camar's recruitment over this last month, and then when Robert Gillespie, joined the staff as the new running backs coach, he had some good conversations with Camar over the course of the last week, which started. I think they had their first Zoom call together last Wednesday, so for a week ago, and the communication has continued. So getting him to stick with his commitment to Alabama, obviously huge. Getting another player from the state of Texas. Obviously Alabama recruited the state extremely well this year, but getting the #1 running back in the country once again. We've seen this several times. But we also didn't think Alabama was going to get a running back in this class. We kind of had been saying pretty much from the get-go that it was probably going to be Camar Wheaton or bust. And Alabama just, this wasn't a class where Alabama absolutely needed a running back, but to get a special running back like Camar Wheaton, they were never going to turn him down. And I'm sure they're certainly excited to have him on board today.
Here with Andrew Bone talking about Camar Wheaton, who has officially signed with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Bone, as we look at kind of the rankings, Camar Wheaton's at the top. I mean, kind of just talk about the impact for what he brings. I mean, Alabama, as you know, has a stacked running back room. Brian Robinson potentially returning for his senior year. Trey Sanders, who suffered a season-ending injury with the car accident. You have Killen Robinson coming back. You have Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, Kyle Edwards, and now Camar Wheaton. The impact of Camar Wheaton coming on board, I mean, it's hard to always speculate, where these players are going to be able to fit in as they initially arrive at Alabama. But what do you like about Camar Wheaton? Let's kind of talk about what he brings, the impact, and some of his highlights.
Yeah, I love his speed. I mean, he's got great speed, very elusive. He's a home run hitter. This is a guy who can line up just about any position on the field and take it a distance. He's not going to get caught from behind. So, I think that's something that really sticks out. He's 6 feet tall. I've heard there's some weight discrepancies amongst the different websites, but I think he's around the 195, 200 pound mark right now. There's been some comparisons to Dalvin Cook. Coming out of high school, not necessarily right now, but coming out of high school, very similar to Dalvin Cook. I think he's got a kind of a running style, also similar to Kenyon Drake a little bit. Just his explosiveness and his vision on the field, and second to none. So I think that he's certainly somebody that can make an impact. Obviously, Alabama's going to have a tremendous depth chart at the running back position heading into this 2021 fall season. Can Camar Wheaton potentially, break into that rotation? We'll have to wait and see, because the running backfield is pretty impressive right now.
Here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com talking about Camar Wheaton, who has officially signed with the Alabama Crimson Tide. You can catch the rest of our signing day coverage back at BamaInsider.com. Bone, when we look at Camar Wheaton, as you said earlier, you lose Charles Huff, the running backs coach who took the head football coaching position with Marshall. You lose Jeff Banks. Those are guys that, recruited all this class of 2021, helped piece together one of the top recruiting classes that Nick Saban has had. Do you think kind of towards the backstretch, it might have been difficult for Camar Wheaton to make this decision? Or do you think that the Bama Factor just continues to sell? I mean, I think when you look at this class overall in a virtual world, Nick Saban, what he's been able to do on the field, sending guys to the NFL, the top facilities that they continue to improve on. Do you think that Bama Factor certainly plays despite kind of the coaches that, turned over after the perfect season?
There's no doubt about it. Alabama is coming off another national championship, and we've seen many coaches come and go. At Alabama, it's kind of a revolving door of assistant coaches because of the success of the program, and position coaches getting coordinator jobs, coordinators getting head coaching jobs. But obviously the one constant is Nick Saban, and that's who recruits want to play for. They want to play for Coach Saban. They want to play for the Alabama Crimson Tide and the brand and what it means. So. I think, despite the coaching turnover, Alabama is still going to be Alabama. And you look at this recruiting class, currently rated as the best recruiting class of all time, according to Rivals.com. When you look at the point totals, how good is this class going to be in 2 or 3 years down the road? We saw that 2017 class, what they were able to do. Not only throughout the career, but we remember them as true freshmen. Being on the field in that national championship game against Georgia, and the impact some of those guys had, like Henry Ruggs and Devontae Smith and Najee Harris and Alex Leatherwood and Jerry Jeudy. Will we see similar things from this 2021 class next year? Will they potentially make an impact, or will it be a few years down the road? I think this is a special recruiting class. Obviously, anytime you're rated as the best class of all time, you certainly have to have some special people in it. And I think top to bottom, you got to be just so impressed with this class. It's not like they've loaded up on the defense side of the ball and they're hurting a little bit on offense. I mean, every single position, it seems like they just absolutely hit a home run. And Camar Wheaton's got to be pretty excited about the offensive line that he's going to get to run behind here in the future. I mean, you have two guys who are rated in the top 10 overall in the country in J.C. Latham, who's number 2 overall in the country, and Tommy Brockermeyer. But then you also get Jaden Roberts and TJ Ferguson and James Brockermeyer. He's got 3 offensive linemen also from the state of Texas in his recruiting class. You got a quarterback in this recruiting class from the state of Texas, not to mention the defensive players. So you got to have a lot of confidence in this recruiting class. Camar Wheaton's got to be extremely excited that he's going to be around some other people from his home state, but it's a big win for Alabama, especially, even though they lost some assistant coaches. And I think, if you look back on it, Camar Wheaton did not have a ton of communication with Alabama throughout the entire process. I think if he would have, maybe it would have played a little bit more of a factor. If he was talking to Jeff Banks or Charles Huff or Coach Stark on a weekly basis, maybe it would have had an impact. But I think because he just didn't talk to coaches and kind of, stayed quiet throughout his entire recruitment, I think that helped Alabama's chances in keeping him, because he basically committed to the program, not to any assistant coaches when he made that decision back in December. And, Nick Saban did a great job of, continuing to, recruit him, making sure he felt like a top priority. And then when Coach Gillespie was hired, that was the first call that he made. So, got to give a lot of credit to Alabama, just maintaining and keeping him on board. But special recruiting class.
All right, well, great stuff, Andrew. To find out more about the class of 2021, including prospects that are already early enrolled, go to BamaInsider.com. To get behind the paywall, the promo code is simply Roll Tide at checkout. He's Andrew Bone. I'm Kyle Henderson. We'll catch you soon back on BamaInsider.com.